King over black supremacy. And with this particular video, I want to talk about, are black people, is the black nation under the supremacy of the federal government? Are we under the supremacy of the federal government, which is national supremacy? Because people talking about, oh, white supremacy don't exist. This whole idea of you talking about supremacy, it's not really honor. That's just the Ku Klux Klan. That's just a few white people. That's just some redneck somewhere in the middle of the forest that hate black people. That's just racism. You know, we've grown far. We've come a long way. The entirety of America is not racist. You know, things have changed with Dr. Martin Luther King, and then we had a black president, Obama. So this video, I want to give you a deeper look at racism, white supremacy, white imperialism, slavery, black freedom and liberation, colonization. I just want to give you a different look. That racism and white supremacy is just not some white rednecks or the KKK or white Nazis or the alt-right movement. It's bigger than that. They're the scapegoats. They're your distraction from the main predominant institution of white supremacy, which is the United States government. That's the main institution of white supremacy, the United States government. Now, let's talk about national supremacy. Now, black people were supposed to be freed, and we're supposed to be given our freedom. And this is an example of the person that enslaves you can't give you your freedom. You can't get your freedom from people who enslaved you. That you have to only get your freedom on your own, because now you're under the people that so-called freed you, which in this case would be the federal government. You're under them. So where were you freed to? And who were you freed from? You weren't freed from the white man. If you still are under federal supremacy, if you're still under national supremacy, you weren't free from the white man. You were just exchanged from one group to another. You was exchanged from those that had a more brutal and chattel form of slavery to those who had more of a comfortable, lenient type slavery that you would volunteer to participate in. They just had one where they can pull the wool of white superiority over your eyes, where you don't even see the superiority. You think that, you know, this is your country, and, you know, they just duped you into accepting slavery and not accepting your full integrity and your full freedom and liberation and self-determination as a people. You accepted shorter than that when you accepted being a part of your slave master's matrix, of your slave master's paradigm, under the auspices of freedom. Now, federal supremacy. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, making the government the supreme power, the federal government the supreme power over the land. What percentage of federal employees are black? 18%. What percentage of federal employees are white? 64%. Outside of that, you got Hispanics, and a lot of them can fall in the white category. Other nationalities, semi-white. But 64% definitely. So that means that the federal government of employees is made up of predominantly white people. We know the federal judge, the Supreme Court judge, is made up of predominantly white people. If you leave this country, many people will tell you that America is a white nation. America is a white nation. It's changing a little bit now with the Mexicans, which is why they're fighting against immigration, and other nationalities are starting to grow up, but predominantly America is a white nation. So the supremacy of this nation, which lies within the federal government based on the Constitution, puts you under white people. You're under white supremacy. You're under national supremacy. You're under that 64% of white people. Still, you have not been freed. When you're free, you're able to self-govern. You're able to determine your own destiny. You're able to control your own self. You have your own territory. You have your own immunities based upon your nation and your government. You have the ability to make laws based on yourself. When you are independent people, we weren't freed. We weren't given our independence and allowed to become self-sufficient, self-governing, and self-determining. We were just put under the white man, put under his government now. If you're free, you're not under the supremacy of no nation. When they found us, we was independent, unamalgamated, unintegrated. It was just us ruling ourselves. Now that they got us, now we in a melting pot, and we fall under the jurisdiction of white imperialism. We fall under the jurisdiction of white nationalism. We fall under the jurisdiction of federal supremacy, which is some white people at the end of the day. You think the Constitution gave you freedom and gave you rights because you got a freedom of speech in the Fourth Amendment, but the same Constitution that you think gives you freedom and rights is the same Constitution that gives the government the right to govern over your black ass. It gives them the right to rule over you. And they didn't have that right before they enslaved you, and didn't have that right before they wrote that Constitution. They didn't have that right. Now they have the right. And you think the Constitution is giving you freedom and freedom to do something. Freedom of speech and freedom of that. But that same book allows them to rule over you. But if you're a supreme being, the original people and the maker and owner of the planet Earth, if you're a supreme black God, if you're an ancient person, why would you be under another government? How is there something that has supremacy over you? If you're natural to the land, you're natural to the earth, you're the original person that was here, what has supremacy over you? The supreme law of the land, which is the white man's constitution, which is the white man's laws that governs over land? Follow me with this. That has supremacy over you. That don't make no sense. It still has supremacy over you. They still can govern you according to that book, according to those laws. So you think you free. You're not. If you was free, you'd be left alone to self-govern yourself. That's a fact. I had to go into that. You under federal supremacy. You under 64% white government employees, federal government employees. There is a supremacy. Supremacy do exist. And as black people, we need supremacy. We think a race when we talk about supremacy. It's just a race being better. No, supremacy means being the highest, most, the dominant law, the dominant governing body, the dominant idea, the dominant paradigm, the dominant cultural framework. Supremacy is just not limited to racial relationships. As far as hating another race, supremacy means we're at the highest and top level when it comes to our own affairs. Because they have supremacy. They have federal supremacy. And they use that supremacy, yes, to go against other white supremacist groups and white supremacist organizations. Yes, but they themselves are a white supremacy organization because the federal government is 64% white. And it has supremacy over everybody else in America. When you free somebody, you no longer have supremacy over them no more. Under the auspices of a government, under the auspices of a democracy, under the auspices of a republic, under the auspices of human rights, under the auspices of nothing. When you free somebody, you no longer have supremacy over them. Now, they got supremacy over their own people, fine. They people want to go along with that government and be under the supremacy of the federal government and be under the supremacy of white nationalism, white American nationalism and patriotism and conservatism or whatever. That's fine. That's their people. They made that up for them. That's their government. Let them rule over themselves. But why us? Why we got to be under that? And some black people, I'm not mad at you black people that want to be under white supremacy. The coons that want to be under the white man, fine, you have a choice. That's your freedom if you want to be under the white man. But just because you want to be under the white man doesn't make it right. Just because you're a slave that want to continue to be under your master doesn't make it right. Because you are satisfied with the illusion of freedom and the illusion of inclusion. Because you're satisfied with that doesn't make it right. So don't use, it's black people that work with the federal government and the government was set up for everybody. But slavery wasn't set up for everybody. Us being brought over here over that boat wasn't set up for everybody. But now it's set up for everybody now. It's set up for the same people who brought us over here on that boat. And it's set up for the same people who ratified the Constitution. And it's set up for the 64% of people who are federal government employees that run that shit every day. It's set up for them. It's set up for white nationalism in America. It's set up for the white man. That's who it's set up for. If we've been freed, there's no supremacy over us. Whether it's the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, municipal law, state law, if we're free. Otherwise, you're lying. We're still slaves. We're still under the rule of the supremacy of the white man in America. He just tries to make it look better and make us feel better about it and dupe us into accepting it because we feel like we are a part of America and it's for everybody and it's balanced and it's equality. When you took the chains off of, see, some people, when the chains got taken off of them, they wanted equality. You want equality with someone that you were forced to be among. I'm forced to be among you now. I want equality to you. And I want you to give me equality and honor equality and be equitable with me. But when I was free, I just wanted my independence. Don't take the chains off and give me what you're calling equality, or make me believe in your ability to be equitable, to make me dependent on whether you want to be equitable or not, and keep my destiny in your hands. When you take the chains off my arms, let me be free. Leave me the fuck alone. Let me be independent. Let me be self-governed. Well, you in America is ran by these laws and those laws. You still in this country. You got to go. Everybody has to go by the laws in this country. It's only fair. No, it's not. No, it's not. If you gave me my free, I don't give a fuck what country this is and who's going by what laws in this country. If I am free, leave me the fuck alone. And versus it being federal supremacy or the supremacy of the white man's government over me, let it be black supremacy. Let my life be a manifestation of black supremacy. If you free me, I had a right to do that. If I'm free, I have the right to self-determine and create and manifest my own reality. If I'm free, don't bring me no other supremacy. Well, it ain't white supremacy no more. You know, we don't deal with that anymore. It's federal supremacy, but we got all the jobs and offices and positions and make the laws and rules. You tell me, how can 64% be equitable? 64% of federal employees be equitable with 12% of the population in America that's black people. Is that even realistic or reasonable? It's more reasonable to leave niggas alone. That way you won't make a mistake of whether you being equitable or unequitable. I had to go in on this. How have we been freed if we're still under the supremacy of the white man by another name? No, we're not under the KKK. No, we're not just under white people in the South. No, we're not under the Confederates no more. We're under federal supremacy. We're under the national supremacy. We're under the white supremacy that is America. That is a global supremacy that wants to rule over everybody and everything, and has incorporated all nationalities as a workforce, as an army, into its desire to maintain global control and to push white elitism through religion and culture and identity across the world. We just was incorporated in that. That their vision got bigger. It went from just ruling over niggas in America and Native Americans are saying, look, we're going to try to rule the whole world. So let's incorporate these people right here on this land into something that will allow us to rule over the world and maintain the territory in this country for the white man. Because the territory in this country has been maintained for the white man. The territory in America has been maintained for the suzerainty of the white man. There's no apologies to that statement. That's just a fact. There's no arguments to that statement. Because they tell you who can and come in and out of this country. But if I'm freed over here, then I have the freedom to bring my brothers in this country. If I'm a free Mexican, I have the freedom to bring my Mexicans over here. If I'm free African, I have the freedom to bring more Africans over here. All I have the freedom to do is follow the rules and regulations of white supremacy that's going to maintain white suzerainty over this country. Anything that I would do that would jeopardize white suzerainty over this country would be considered against the supreme law of the land, against federal supremacy, against white supremacy. Have you been freed? I got a right to bear arms. I got a right to do this. And the same document says you have the right to be under the white man. Did you have the right? Was it right for you to be under his ass before he bought you over here on the boat? He gives you privileges and rights, but snatch away all of your freedoms. If I'm free, you can't give me my rights. If I'm free, my rights don't come from you. How am I free but you telling me what my rights are? You telling me what I can do and what I can't do. If I'm free, how do my privileges come from you? When have we been freed? You have become satisfied with slavery. You've been satisfied with living under this white man to the point that you have forgot what freedom is. You have lost the objective to obtaining true freedom. And true freedom ain't going, well, go back to Africa. That ain't freedom. Freedom is going wherever the fuck I want to go. Well, why don't you just get you some little land and set up and stay on your little land? That ain't freedom. Freedom is leaving us the fuck alone. And freedom is us understanding and building up the power and the consciousness and the realization within ourselves to be left the fuck alone and to honor being left the fuck alone and establish being left the fuck alone and institutionalize being left the fuck alone. The white man in America has produced his worst enemy, a monster, through the situation that he has put together through slavery. It's a serious situation. Now you got to deal with it. Because when you enslave people and then you raise the idea of freedom, you interject the idea of freedom, you got a problem on your hands, man. Because if you believe that we should be free, then in all due sincerity, you have to accept that we deserve to be left the fuck alone by white people. And by coons that are representatives of white people. That are coons that are flunkies of white people. And be left alone by the white man himself. And you would have no problem with the idea of black supremacy, because that would have to have existed before white supremacy or federal supremacy. In Africa, what was the supreme law of the land? The black man. So the black man should continue to be the supreme law of any land where he stands. If that's what it was in Africa, then so shall it be in America and anywhere and everywhere that a black man is. It's King Noble Black Supremacy. Join my website, www.kingnobleuncensored.com. Donate and don't hate.